I don't know. It depends on how comfortable you are. I'm finessing the game. Hold up. Oh, I glitched it. Like the game finessed me. This is how my girl be riding me. Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm gonna come! I've never been fucked by a real nigga like you before. What else do I got on my notes? Okay, Spongebob. I beat another game. Twitch.tv. Make sure to follow me. Twitch.tv/TheBlackHokage. I played Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. For those of you unaware, this is a remaster of a PS2 game. Let's see, when did that come out? Spongebob Battle for Bikini. It came out in the early 2000s on the PS2 and the GameCube. Let's see, GameCube. When did the original one come out? I don't know. The original one came out in 2003. So SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom originally came out on the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and PC October 7th, 2003. A lot of people view this as a cult classic. I never played it when I was a kid. This came out when I was 13. I didn't have any money, so there was a limit on terms of what games I was playing. I think I was playing Smash Bros back then a lot. Smash Bros. So a lot of people were asking me, somebody donated me, for those who are wondering why I played it, somebody donated for me to play this game because people know that I love platformers, but I never got to play this one. And here are my thoughts on the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. So I have 4 positives and 3 negatives. The first positive is there are multiple playable characters, which is really dope. So in this game, you get to play as SpongeBob, who has his own moveset, Sandy Cheeks, she has her own moveset, and then Patrick has their own movesets. And you have to change in between the different characters in order to solve different problems. Only SpongeBob can do certain things. Only Sandy is basically Spider-Man, and then, you know, Patrick is the muscle, so he solves. Only certain characters can solve certain puzzles, or they can solve certain platforming issues or whatever. And you have to use like this. There's a bus stop all throughout each level, and you have to go to the bus stop to switch characters. So basically, there's backtracking in the game. Only certain characters can do certain things to get the spatulas. In this game, you collect golden spatulas, which are basically stars, like in Super Mario 64, typical platformer stuff from the early 2000s, 90s. My only knock on the multiple characters thing is like you had to go to the bus stop to switch characters. You couldn't just hit the pause button and switch characters. Like that would have been a nice quality of life change, because the bus stops are sprinkled throughout the levels, and these levels are really big. So a lot of times the bus stops are really hard to find, and that shit was annoying. It felt like the game was padded. I know I watched, it was either IGN or GameSpot review, and I feel like that's what they had trouble articulating. There are certain games and there are certain things in the game that just didn't age well. This is a remaster in the sense that they just kind of remastered the graphics, but the game itself at its core is still the same exact game. It's not a remake like Final Fantasy VII where they improve certain mechanics and quality of life changes. First negative was the voice acting. SpongeBob was cool. Gary was cool. He just says meow. Patrick was cool. Sandy was cool. But Mr. Krabs, but I remember Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. There's certain characters that are not voiced by the original characters in this game. And it just makes for a really weird situation because certain characters are voiced by the original characters. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. Like it's not a deal breaker, but it is something that you'll notice. Like, oh, that's not Mr. Krabs. It's kind of weird. Mr. Krabs, Mr. Krabs, Mr. Krabs. It's just kind of weird. Next positive is the simple mechanics. This is an early 2000s 90s style platformer through and through, and depending on who you are, you're either gonna like or love it. I like games like that. This is all about running around, exploring the environment, collecting spatulas, golden stars, pretty much, jumping on shit, jumping on Goombas and shit, basically, solving puzzles. There's puzzles all throughout. It's one of those games it's easy to pick up. Then there's like there are a few challenging puzzles in there, surprisingly, for a kid's game. But I like the fact that it's simple mechanics. There's beauty in simplicity. I think this is one of those games where it's like, if you just want to shut off your brain, jump around, have some fun, collect some things, and explore a beautiful world, this game will be for you. This is not Oscar bait like The Last of Us 2. This is not designed to tap into your emotions. It's just fun. You had a long day at work, come home, sit down, jump around and collect stuff. It's a collectathon, like Donkey Kong 64. Negative, like I said earlier, pretty much no quality of life updates. This is a remaster. I like to reiterate that. They improved the visuals. They did not improve the gameplay, so there are certain things that you're going to have to readjust to. when it comes to the gameplay. It plays like a old game. Like another example I can give of how they could improve the quality of life changes is like there's no sense of direction in this game, to the point where I was like, yo, when I was younger, was I smarter? Like, how did I beat these games? And then you think about it, and it's like when you were younger, it was easier for you to adapt to those type of situations because that was the norm back then. Game development has improved over time, and we've become used to those improvements. So then when we go back and play games like this, like it can be a little bit difficult of an adjustment. But I'm just letting you know, if you've never played a game from the early 2000s, the 90s, there was no, this is a kid's game, but it does not hold your hand. There's no sense of direction. There's a hub world, which is Bikini Bottom. And once you collect enough spatulas, you can go to another world, which goes to another bigger hub world. And you basically just aimlessly running around looking for objectives and collecting spatulas. And for the most part, you'll run into the spatulas that you need. But then there are some other ones that are very frustrating. There were objectives that I never found at the end of the game. And like that was a little frustrating to just aimlessly run around, especially when you're live streaming and you're trying to entertain at the same time. That was frustrating I couldn't find the objectives that I was looking for. It would have been nice to have an objective marker or something like that. Some people will say that it was easier, but just know that there are no quality of life changes here. It's the same old game, just with better graphics. And then the last positive I have for this game is it's cheap. And that's kind of what circumvents the quality of life changes for me. They're not charging, as good as this game looks, they're not charging $60 for it. It's a $30 game. It's available on all the major platforms, Steam, PS4, Xbox, all that shit. I played it on PC. The game is very optimized, by the way. I forgot to put that on my notes. We can put that as a fifth positive. This game is actually very optimized. I played the PC version, had no problems. Smooth 60 FPS. The game looked gorgeous. It runs great. But going back to the fourth positive is it's cheap. It's only $30. So if you don't feel like spending $60 and you just want to play a fun platformer to let loose, I gotta give that. I wish more games. Listen. Going into the next generation, we need more B-tier games. This is not a AAA game. This is a B-tier game. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like the way the games market is nowadays is we have AAA games and then everything else, like shitty indie games. There needs to be more B-tier games that are $30, $40. I'm not mad at it. Earth Defense Force is one of those games from like the 360 era that I used to love, and that was a B-tier game. Cheap fun. Anyways, last negative is the story is pointless, but I mean, it's a kid's game, so I mean, that's me nitpicking. The story is completely pointless. Without even spoiling it, something bad happens, and once again, Plankton did it. And at the end, they just forgive Plankton. Like, I spoiled it. It's an old ass game. And nobody's gonna play this game for the fucking story anyway. Fucking, they forgive Plankton, and I'm not gonna lie. I said that, and I was like, what was the point of all that? They just gonna forgive him. It was like, you're very bad, Plankton. But all in all, I had fun with it. It was frustrating. Now, this goes to the reason I played this game is because somebody donated it, and like everybody in my Twitch chat was saying that this game is a classic. As somebody who grew up on Mario, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, fucking the classic Super Mario 3, the classic platformers, man. Super Mario Sunshine. I'm a platformer head. A lot of people said that I should play this game because it was a classic. In my opinion, this is not a classic platformer, and I'm judging it for what it is, not versus what I wanted it to be, because like I said, there needed to be some quality. This is not a classic platformer. In my opinion, this game was mid. And when I say mid, I feel like when people say mid, that's an insult. I'm not saying it as an insult. I definitely had fun playing this game, but if we're being real, half the levels I enjoyed and the other half kind of just frustrated me. So it's not as good. I don't think it's a classic in my opinion. I think this is a middle of the road, just a decent licensed platformer. And if you want to take it back to that era, pick it up. So my final recommendation is, if you have interest in the game, pick it up. Am I saying you definitively have to buy this? No, but it's hard for me not to recommend this game because I did enjoy it for the most part, and it's only $30. So I say go for it. Pick it up. If you want a fun platformer, go for it.